Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Selby series. Selby is one of 11 subdivisions of the county of North Yorkshire. It's made up of 74 civil parishes, a lot of which are very small. Which one are we in this week? Okay, today in the district of Selby, I've got a village for you which you might know for a service station. And I'm going to walk around this with a special guest today. Come on, Nikki. Hey, here's Nikki, Mrs. TVI. You'll be seeing her in the next 3 Selby episodes. I've got her with me for these. Let's have a walk around Bilbrough. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Bilbrough is a village and civil parish in the Selby district of North Yorkshire, 6 miles southwest of York and just outside the York city boundary. Most people will likely know the name Bilbrough thanks to Bilbrough Top services on the A64, the main road connecting the A1 from Leeds to York and Scarborough. Bilbrough Top services might be familiar from the Steeton episode as well. We drove around them to get to Steeton Hall. It's got several fast food outlets, a petrol station and a hotel. There's a flyover which affords access to the main Bilbrough village, and it was opened in 2005 by former Roads Minister Dr. Stephen Ladyman. It replaced an earlier junction that was known as an accident blackspot. The village itself is set amongst fields and farmland north of the A64 on a lateral moraine made of boulder clay and gravel. Here's the basic parish info before we go and find it. So here we are in the main village. It's a nice circular one this. In fact, the route is something of an oblong shape. Beginning on Cat Lane, our first major landmark is to head for the village hall. The name Bilbrough means the fortress of Bila. Bila is a personal name, probably Anglo-Saxon, which is not recorded but it's suggested by numerous other place names. The village was historically part of the West Riding of Yorkshire until 1974. According to the 2001 census, Bilbrough Parish had a population of 319, which increased to 348 in 2011. We'll have a look at the rest of the demographics shortly, right after Nikki sees to the parish notice board, situated right here outside the village hall. Nikki's doing the honours today. Go on, Nikki. Some of them are quite difficult to pin on, aren't they? That's it. We're on. Yay! The village hall might be small, but I thought it to be quite a neat little structure. The village hall is the centre of the community and holds many village events. Let's have a look up Main Street next. Bilbrough was mostly the property of the Fairfax family from the 14th century onwards. Thomas Fairfax, parliamentary commander-in-chief during the English Civil War, is buried here. Our next major landmark, therefore, is the church as we amble down Main Street. He's buried in a tomb inside the church beside his wife Anne, daughter of Lord Vere, Baron of Tilbury.
You want me to see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so got what looks like a Georgian manor house that's been converted into separate dwellings, because if you look above the door you can see the arch sort of lintel that would be above the windows, and then you can see along the next bit there's kind of, you know, the bigger ones, and I think that the front door was in the middle and it was one big house. Looks like it anyway.
Between the two main streets in the village, Main Street and Back Lane, there's a small park with a playground. A little later, we'll see this again from the other side. A pretty village, it may come as no surprise, it was the subject of a 17th century poem. If you want to hear it, stick around until the end of this video. The village is served by public transport. You'll be needing the number 37 bus to get here. Keep that number in mind, it's a recurring theme in these parts. There's an old schoolhouse behind those trees. An excerpt from writings in the 1820s tells us Bilbrough had a school endowed with £15 per annum for teaching 22 poor children. The Three Hares is the one and only pub in the village. There are glowing reviews of this all over the internet. It's a beautiful 200-year-old country pub and restaurant. It also has some fabulous artwork on the exterior wall. If you were wondering where the Three Hares are, well, they're right here. That's a nice bit of character. Now, if there's not a story behind the name of this footpath, I'll be very surprised. Piggy Lane.
Know anything? Stick it in the comments.
Continuing down Main Street, we pass the old red phone box. No book exchange in this one, guys, but there is a defib machine here. The local landscape is generally flat. Bilbrough Hill is the highest point in the area, but it has been much reduced by gravel quarrying and reshaped by farming. To the west of the village is Ingle Edge Hill, with views to Marston Moor and Towton. Close by is a tumulus of an ancient chieftain that faces towards Leeds. So here we are at St James's Church. This was built in 1876 upon the remains of an older original building. There was also a Wesleyan chapel built in 1836. Now this is where Nikki being with me really helped. It was her that spotted the remains of the Wesleyan chapel, which stands right next to the churchyard. Without her, I'd have never seen this. We had a good look at it, but it's severely overgrown and very much derelict. There's a narrow footpath which runs alongside the churchyard wall and out into a little green oasis. Nikki is well and truly in her element here. This kind of thing in a churchyard like this. Nikki absolutely loves it, don't you? Yeah. I've kind of lost her here. I'm trying to keep up with her. What's this around here? Is this
just like a little bunker?
All right. Well, you noticed something about the a dog? Oh, a dog.
Morning.
Hello.
That's fine. Hello. Ah.
So what did you see over here?
Well, there's another sort of section of the churchyard, but whether or not it's got any burials in it.
Okay. There's only one way to find out.
Yeah, but it looks just like it's maybe like their area, like sort of like a compost area, I suppose. You know, where they put grass clippings.
The Fairfax name is all over the churchyard. These graves we're at here are all to do with the family. Of course, the aforementioned Fairfax tombs are inside the church. Now we come to the front of the church, and I was praying, no pun intended, that it was open so that we could see the tombs. Luckily, my prayers were answered. The porch was quite interesting in and of itself. This is a very historic church, and even though it's still used, it's apparently one that's protected by the church's Conservation Trust. Beneath the church tower is a vault containing the remains of the Todd family, another name associated with the village. They also owned land here. In fact, Bilbrough has had other notable landowners, which include Richard Basey, an MP for York in the late 13th century. It's the Fairfaxes, though, that are the most well known. To the south side of the church we find the tombs. There are two here, and there's a sign on the wall which tells you a little bit about them. Here's Nikki to tell you what it says. So Nikki just noticed something about this tomb here. What's special about this tomb, Nikki?
So it's the tomb of John Norton, who founded the chapel. 1492 this chapel was founded. and he was the lord of the manor of Bilbrough at the time.
As we were leaving the church, we spotted these on the handrails. These small trays would be filled with holy water so that people could bless themselves before entering the church. Now it's not this, but opposite this house up a private drive is Bilbrough Manor, built in 1902 for Guy Thomas Fairfax. The original manor house was built in 1670 for Sir Thomas Fairfax. Where Main Street meets Back Lane, a left turn will take you towards Catterton. However, we're going straight over the road and into a cemetery. This was quite the find, once again by Nikki. In here there are yet more Fairfax graves and some memorials which are undergoing restoration. This is also what you'd call a normal cemetery too. It isn't bad as final resting places go. From this cemetery you get some pretty decent views over the local landscape. The good news is, in the next few episodes, we're heading that way. All these grand houses close to the manor house are worth an absolute fortune, and they're stunning buildings. The carriage house seen here is a converted barn, which is now holiday apartments. Bilbrough has no shops or any kind of retail services, unless of course you count the petrol station and food outlets at Bilbrough Top Services. There are some eggs for sale on this stall though. And that stall is outside something called the Bilbrough Country Classroom, which, even though it looks nothing like a school, is in fact an educational establishment. It provides a bridge between home and school for students who find mainstream provision challenging, and it caters for students between the ages of 11 through to 16. The last vestiges of the route see us walk down Back Lane past some much more modern houses. It's worth noting that in general, newer properties don't look out of place here. This was filmed in late April when the blossom on the trees was pretty much at its fullest. Bilbrough looked absolutely amazing, and it's a fine place to come and visit. Almost completely around this gorgeous village on the outskirts of York, our last stop is to see the park once again, this time from the other side, from Back Lane. Right, that's Bilbrough. We're nearly all the way around the village, which means you guys need a picture bit, and that's coming your way right about now. Okay, to finish with, I've got a poem called Upon the Hill and Grove at Bilbrough, and I'm going to recite that with a few more pictures and shots around the village to finish this one off. This has been the Parish of Bilbrough, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out. It's a very long poem. I'll only read the first 3 verses. The full poem I'll link in the description. See how the arches earth does here rise in a perfect hemisphere. The stiffest compass could not strike a line more circular and like, nor softest pencil draw a brow so equal as this hill does bow. It seems as for a model laid, and that the world by it was made. Here learn ye mountains more unjust, which to abrupter greatness thrust, that do with your hook-shouldered height the earth deform and heaven fright. For those who excrescence ill-designed, nature must a new centre find. Learn here those humble steps to tread, which to secure a glory led. See what a soft access and wide lies open to its grassy side, nor with the rugged path deters the feet of breathless travellers. See then how courteous it ascends, and all the way it rises bends, not for itself the height does gain, but only strives to raise the plain.